Merry Christmas everyone, and welcome to another rant, this time on the terrible purchases we've accrued in the past 2 decades. And the rules are that they're not our worst players ever, but 10 who are just disappointments or plain bloody awful. They're signings, not loan players, that's a whole other list. So here we go. And number 10 is Tim Sherwood. Mr. Sherwood has never been short of confidence in his career, and in the dying embers of his playing days, he brought that confidence to Highfield Road, where he sauntered around like the archetypal ex-Premier League winner who thought that playing for Coventry might be a laugh and a way of winding down. He loved doing punditry and sitting and analysing games during his time at the club, which was actually what he seemed to be doing when he was on the pitch for us. Languid, lethargic and downright limp, Tim played 11 games with no distinction, draining life from the terraces and a season full of wages from the club. That trip, you know the one. London Road Stadium in Peterborough, the 66th minute, March 25th, 2016. Joe Cole has just scored for Coventry to make the score 2-1, and Posh is shaken. We go on the attack, and instantly have a chance to make it 2-2. This is it. Darius can't miss. 1-on-1. From there we equalise, and go on to win. We carried that momentum on to beat Colchester a few days later, and beat Gillingham the week after that, got in the playoffs, and were promoted gloriously at Wembley with a 2-1 win over Bradford. Nope, none of that happened. Instead, he somehow plays a Panenka chip back onto his own knee, and then takes 3 more steps of ever-increasing stride length before a last desperate attempt to either head the ball or burrow through the soil in shame. That moment of black comedy, which I saw live, summed up his time with us, and that feeling of being a Coventry fan in real life. 5 games, no goals, no hope. Remember when Wee Gordon said that he put £1 into the kitty to get the West Brom marksman? Christ, if only he'd lost his wallet that day. Boing boing seemed to represent the way the ball bounced away from him, over him, through him. The chances that seemed to go in every week at the Hawthorns just weren't going in. Although his goal-scoring record isn't actually that bad, 15 in 42, it's somewhat flattered by a hat-trick and a 6-1 win at Crewe. His value halved in 1 season, and the reason I've put him in is that so many Coventry fans were expectant that season, our first outside the top flight for 35 years, and he just wasn't the man to do it. And of course, he turned out to be an horrifically irresponsible person off the pitch as well. Our single-digit game wonders. Do you remember Denzil Slager? What about Shea Bunce, Kevin Malaga or Vincent Ngonga or Alex Evtishok? I'm sure all clubs have them, but we always seem to have 3 or 4 a season in the squad, guys who don't play half a dozen games, and when they do, it's as if they never happened. Essentially, these are one player to me, a faceless, amorphous presence. And when I looked at Denzil's face, I realised I had no recollection of him. Nothing. Didn't remember him, his number, any passage of play. We've had too many Denzils. Another player who decided that retirement was preferable to playing for Coventry. O'Neill arrived seemingly hell-bent on adding to his top trump collection of horrific injuries. He made just 8 appearances in 2 years. He arrived carrying the scars of hernias, back problems, hamstring troubles and broken feet. But obviously all that wasn't enough, as he immediately twisted his leg in training, resulting in a double fracture and dislocated ankle. Then he broke his hand on a punch bag, and finally became embroiled in some sort of brawling Leamington, which proved to be the straw that broke the camel's back for Keith's career. A fitting metaphor, some might say. Andy Webster played 71 games for us, and if you were to put together a video montage of highlights, you could get a good 10 minutes of him loping back into camera view from various angles on pitches around the country, running towards our goal, several yards behind yet another striker drilling the ball home. Here's an example of his defending prowess against Tranmere. Got it covered, whoops, no I haven't, I'm lying on the floor and the ball's in the net. No hard feelings, he gave it a good go, but it just wasn't right for him here. Number 4, Yakubu. People said we were scraping the barrel. Well, we weren't just scraping it, we were playing it in human form. I never saw him play in the flesh, the considerable amount of flesh, but it was obvious that his fitness and health was completely gone. It was just another bizarre anecdote. Another piece of a puzzle from the 2016-17 season that started badly and went down cliff. This is a guy who had a record of better than a goal every 3 games for his country and played for a host of good Premier League clubs with success. And yet, what do you remember him for? Yep, that 2-minute video where he's moving like a mastodon stuck in mud. It never should have happened, and it's another black mark against Russell Slade. Bellamy scored 8 goals in 39 appearances in our ill-fated relegation season. I don't think anyone thought that he didn't put in the effort, and if he'd left it there, after he left us, we would have remembered his valiant shot at keeping us up. However, what we do recall is what he said when he left. The club was rubbish, the fans were rubbish, the city was rubbish, and so on. No need for it. Craig, you were a terrible replacement for Robbie Keane, and you left here, like many clubs, leaving fans with a bad taste in their mouths. One day an apology would be nice for the fans you slagged off who paid your wages. And Andy Lowe. 2 games and 1 goal. Doesn't sound like it was such a bad signing, does it? Great pedigree, played in the World Cup, better than 1 in 2 record for Rushden and Diamonds. He arrived with a reputation of being impossible to manage, and by gum did he live up to it. Within just 2 weeks he went AWOL in Jamaica, and was then arrested for trafficking crack cocaine, although the charges were later dismissed for lack of evidence. He was soon released by Eric Black, making us a laughingstock, and proving that the only crack around here was the one you could find in our transfer policy. A career up in smoke. Hewn from the Scottish granite and just as mobile, KK scored a mighty 5 goals in 44 games for us, each one costing £125,000. With the touch of a snow gritter and the finesse of a tax demand letter, when this burly Scottish brute arrived, a poll suggested that 95% of Cov fans thought he was a bad signing, and the other 5% probably ticked the wrong box by accident. He once described us as the worst fans he'd ever played under, but also said that if it wasn't for his gambling, he'd have played in the Premier League. So you can't really believe anything he said. After leaving us, solemnly walking from the pitch, having been sent off to the delight of our own fans, he swilled around in Scotland for a while, and variously played darts and worked cleaning toilets on a ship, thereby providing a fitting image for the swirling, crappy disaster that was his stint with us. So there's my 10. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below, or send me a comment on Facebook or Twitter.